matter how I look at it, how much research I do, I keep coming back to one guy that stands head and shoulders above all other researchers and inventors of, I don't know, for how many centuries. And that guy's name is Nikola Tesla. He disagrees with the concept of atomic theory of matter and does not believe in the existence of an electron as pictured by science. He says if you want to find out the secrets of the universe, think in terms of energy, frequency and vibration. This is a shock to the system. Sound and resonance, the common links of creation. Modern science tells us that we live in an electromagnetic universe. Everything spins and vibrates. I'd like to correct that. I'd like to say that it's not an electromagnetic universe, it's a magnetoelectric universe. There's a very big difference between the two. Everything in creation spins and vibrates. Everything has its own prime resonance frequency. Everything. And this is why once we can identify a prime resonance frequency of a bacterium or an atom or whatever it is, or a soccer field, we can then manipulate that object with its prime resonance frequency. Sound and resonance, common links of creation and religion. In Christianity, it's the word. In Hinduism, it's Om. The Egyptians believed the universe was sung into creation, and the original people of Australia believed that the world was created with 3 sacred songs. And then we have the phenomenal similarities between the 6 days of creation in Christianity and the word that created everything, the 6 aspects of Om, and the 6 aspects of the all-seeing eye of Horus, and you start seeing the connections between all these ancient cultures and the creation stories. Sound is the source of all creation. Sound and resonance is responsible for everything. It is the breath of the Creator, the prime resonance frequency, and the source code for everything in creation, including our DNA. This is the most basic, fundamental demonstration how sound and resonance manifests into physical form. And I just cannot get enough of it. I can watch it millions of times. Every frequency has its own specific shape, a prime resonance frequency. Are you only looking at a 2-dimensional representation of a 3-dimensional effect? And then Erik Larson is the guy that created the Cymatics, and this is when you can suddenly see how the human voice has potential to create infinitely. And remember, every thought you have also has a frequency and a vibration, has a resonance, just like your voice. And some of these pictures, the images of this Cymatics images, tell us that it was these sounds, the images of the sound, that actually inspired religious symbols. That beautiful cross in a circle give us a very clear indication that the creators of the religious symbols knew exactly what they were talking about, that the source of creation is sound itself. Ancient civilizations understood sound and frequency, and they used it for everything. They used it as a tool, and they also used it to control and manipulate humanity. This is nothing new. We know by now that the pineal gland is pretty much what represents the all-seeing eye of Horus. It's a receiver, it's a transmitter, it's a powerful tool that we should be using, but we're not, because it was manipulated with and probably compromised. And it seems that these ancient beings, these either bird-headed beings or winged beings, used these cone-shaped tools and other techniques to manipulate our pineal gland and manipulate our DNA. They controlled us, the tree of life or the DNA, and they probably used sound and frequency to do that with. But what's important is to look at, so we got a pine cone, a cone-shaped tool in his hand, and that weird wristwatch that has got these 12 cone shapes pointing at the center. It seems like everything is encoded here when they draw these or carve these things. It's not just accidental. Everything has got a reason why it's there. And this brings us to using sound as a tool in technology. Sound creates light. It's very obvious. We know that God said, "Let there be light," and you can do this yourself by attaching a speaker to an LED light and see what happens. Sound can levitate. By now, you would have seen this many times. Just a very quick idea that sound actually does levitate things. But this is not how the ancients used to levitate the very big, heavy objects. This is a very different technique used here. This is just pressure waves that can levitate things, very light objects, but it does give you the ability to imagine that sound actually levitates. Magnetrons are really just very, very, it's called a resonant cavity magnetron that is created through resonance, sound resonance. It creates huge amounts of energy that's used in laser beams, used in microwaves, laser beams, etc. This is where we start getting into the real understanding of some of the masters. And no matter how I look at it, how much research I do, I keep coming back to one guy that stands head and shoulders above all other researchers and inventors of, I don't know, for how many centuries. And that guy's name is Nikola Tesla. He says, if you want to find out the secrets of the universe, think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration. That's exactly what I've been sharing with you here. They tell us that this is a light beam or electron riding a light beam. Can you see a particle anywhere in this picture? No, there's no particle. They're resonant waves, and yet they tell us it's an electron. Can you see how we get brainwashed? So this is what Nikola Tesla has to say about the electron from an interview in 1928. On the whole subject of matter, in fact, Dr. Tesla holds the view that are startlingly original. He disagrees with the concept of atomic theory of matter and does not believe in the existence of an electron as pictured by science. This is a shock to the system. This is what Einstein has to say about the electrons. In the theoretical treatment of these electrons, we are faced with the difficulty that electrodynamic theory itself is unable to give an account of their nature. So he says he doesn't quite understand how electrons come into being. And you start seeing that scientists and inventors and researchers over the last 200 years have been vehemently opposed to this whole concept of an electron and the atomic structure that has been forced down our throats and through all our educational institutions. This is what an electron actually looks like. It's just a resonance field. Much brilliant work has been done by many brilliant researchers and scientists. Electromagnetic models and formulas have been thrown together that are consistent with the toroidal shape. An electron is simply a coherent resonance in a toroidal field. That's all it is. It's not a particle. It is a resonating toroidal field. The same with the atomic structure. The atom is a toroidal field. It's not the atomic structure that we've been shown by science throughout our schooling careers. This is probably a lot closer to what an atom looks like. Here's a picture of a molecular torus of the carbon monoxide molecule. Here's a toroidal, the solar system as a torus. And many of you would have seen the fact that our galaxy has shown us to be as a toroidal field. Sound, just like everything else, manifests as a toroidal field, as a torus. And this is why when our hearts beat, we create a toroidal field around our body. And that toroidal field creates an electromagnetic field around our body. And so it goes. This is what the toroidal fields look like, or that are created by the sounds we make when we speak. And phenomenal research and work has been done to show us what the different toroidal shapes and fields look like of different letters and different sounds, especially vowels. And then as we speak, these toroidal fields that we manufacture and we create with our mouths, infinite forms, infinite shapes, infinite creativity that we manifest, actually become scalar waves and scalar technology that go into all of creation and permeate all of creation instantly. Please understand this, that at the center of that torus is what some call the 0 point. That point out of which everything manifests into reality has infinite density. That's the 0 point. So now you can understand why sound travels infinitely. Because in an infinite density, sound and resonance travels infinitely fast. Because it goes into the 0 point of every atom in our body. As we think, as we speak, it enters all that inside us, and it enters the 0 point and the fabric of all creation, and traverses everything instantly. We become creators and can manifest anything with sound. And this is why we now know that sound is the ultimate source of free energy. And Nikola Tesla knew this. He knew that the earth rings like a bell, and he used the sound of the earth because it constantly rings. It never stops. He used it as a source of energy to create his free energy device. And this is where we realize that sound and magnetism is inextricably connected. It's sound that creates magnetic fields, and moving magnetic fields create electricity. It's in that order that creation seems to happen. I guess this is probably one of the best descriptions of the nature of our reality and around us. So we don't live in an electromagnetic universe, we live in a magnetoelectric universe. This tells us that because sound creates magnetic fields, it means everything must be magnetic in some sort. This is quite a new discovery, only about 10 years old. Now we can actually see what magnetic fields look like through the ferrolens. When you look at the cone-shaped magnetic field under a ferrocell, look at this. When you take a ferrocell and you put it over a speaker, like a speaker magnet, look what it does. These beautiful cone shapes that face the middle, just like what? Just like this guy's wristwatch. Can you start seeing why I'm suggesting that these guys are using technology? It was in their wristwatches, they had the cones, all to do with magneticism and sound. We just never saw it like that until we got the ferrocell. And when you bring a magnet towards a ferrofluid, what does the ferrofluid do? It forms beautiful cones and just stick right out the ferrofluid. And now you start seeing how sound and magneticism plays a role in nature, in structuring the flowers and the shapes of trees, and everything around us is driven by sound and the magnetic fields that actually create the shapes around us. So we're dealing with some ancient knowledge that's giving us a very clear indication of how we can use this ancient technology into the future. Keep in mind, what have we got in our eyes? In our eyes we have rods and cones in our retina, right? What are the cones in our retina connected to? The optic nerve is connected to pineal gland. Somehow our pineal gland should be controlling our eyes and our optic nerve. And our pineal gland should be picking up all these other frequencies, the all-seeing eye of Horus, connecting us to everything, every frequency, and giving us ESP ability and much more. But if you look at our eyes, so in our eyes, in the iris is actually like toruses. Right? Look at the toruses in our eyes. And the toruses have lenses in them that focus the light, which is also sound, because every light frequency has a sound frequency attached to it. So it sends the sound and the light through the lens, through the center of the torus, into the cones in the retina. Now you understand why I get excited about these toruses or the cones combined as tools that could be used to do things that we can't even imagine yet. But what this all leads up to is that we should be able to do anything. We should be able to think anything and manifest it instantly. We are absolute ultimate creators. We are co-creators of our own reality. And now that you know how powerful your thoughts are, how powerful every word you write, powerful every message you leave for somebody on your cell phone, how every email you send, how powerful all your communication and all your thoughts are, you realize how quickly we can co-create a new reality for ourselves. Because all of this positive stuff, the positive thinking, the positive talking, the positive co-creation of a new reality for humanity that is filled with prosperity and abundance is right here. We are creating it as we speak it and as we think it. No one can stop that. It's up to us. And the more people say it, think it, speak it, imagine it, the quicker we're going to create it.